Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. I hope you guys are having a good afternoon. Let's get started on a case that is all over the news right now, and I actually saw when I was doing research for another story, and I was like, well, this is gonna be important to talk about because this is very timely, and this is something we talk about a lot on this channel. So let's talk about it. It's a mother in Colorado was indicted on 13 counts. 13 counts, including murder, child abuse, and fraud, related to the 2017 death of her daughter, Olivia Gant. Kelly Renee Turner is accused of killing her daughter for attention and money, and she almost got away with it, but it was her second daughter, her 11-year-old, going to the doctor for cancer that ultimately resulted in an investigation. So let's talk this through. It's a doozy of a case. It's got twists, it's got turns. I have read just about every article on this that I could find. I have pieced together a timeline and talked through like what the doctors found and everything. So here is what we've got. This is Kelly Renee Turner. She is 41 years old. She was arrested this past weekend at a hotel in Denver, and she is facing a whole lot of charges and life in prison. She is 41, and all of this could have, like I said, been swept under the rug, except she actually did the same thing to her older daughter. Thankfully, her older daughter is now doing fine and is no longer in harm's way. So this is Olivia. She passed away in 2017. She was 7 years old at the time of her death. She was quite the cute girl, and here is what her mother wrote. She was like in the news everywhere. She got to ride with police officers. She got to be a firefighter for a day. She got to be Batgirl, who was like battled a Disney princess. She was everywhere. So here is kind of the timeline. Kelly Renee Turner used social media to develop this like idea that her daughter was sick. In a blog that she wrote in 2011, which was titled Pray for Livy, she said that Olivia had a misshapen head and a vascular malformation in her brain that caused seizures, blindness, and an aneurysm. And then she also posted that she was having osteomyelitis, a bone infection in her ear, and an immune deficiency. They were written by Turner in one another. She requested prayers for her daughter and so one daughter had all of these issues. Her other daughter had a bone disorder, and she requested prayers for both of her kids. And she also requested prayers for her daughter, who was 11, because she was neglected and battling a serious medical problem as well. She told people that she had an inoperable tumor pressing on her brain. She had seizures. She underwent radiation treatment. She was diagnosed with celiac disease, an immune disorder that prevents people from being able to eat gluten. She said that she needed a shunt to drain excess water off of her brain. So she claimed that her daughter had hydrocephalus. She said that she had a thinning of the membrane between the lobes of her brain, and that she was diagnosed with autism. So she was originally from Texas, and they moved to Colorado to get treatment for her. And while her daughter's health was apparently entering a phase where she was terminal, Kelly did this media campaign where she did a bucket list, and it included being a fireman, feeding sharks, catching a bad guy with police, and that Batgirl thing that she did with the Disney princess. So what she got to do is she rode with the Denver Police Department and a local fire department. She actually got to put out a fire with them, make a wish through a surprise where she got to battle that princess, and then she had a GoFundMe at the same time for over $20,000. So a GoFundMe campaign raised between 2015 and 2017 over $22,000 from 161 people. They received $3,000 from Professional Miracles Foundation, which created by members of Denver real estate community to help families with sick children. And then her Make-A-Wish event where she got to battle that princess cost the organization over $11,000. She's also accused of defrauding Medicaid for over $500,000. Even though her husband had private health care insurance, she told him that she found cheaper alternatives and enrolled her daughter in Medicaid despite the fact that she didn't need it. Yikes. So how did she get people to be so enthused? Well, her daughter was super cute, and she was telling people she had this very vague diagnosis of a rare incurable disease, and she had gone through tons of surgeries, dozens of hospitalizations, that she was dying. And she told people during an interview for the firefighter, when she did the firefighter event in 2017, that her daughter was dying of intestinal failure. And she told the news outlet that her intestines were shutting down one at a time, and that they had moved from Texas to Denver to receive treatment for the disorder. The problem is that during her time after her move from Texas to Colorado, multiple doctors didn't believe that Olivia was actually sick, and they battled her the entire time. She somehow convinces one of the doctors to sign a do not resuscitate order, and she withdrew her daughter's medical care. So she withdrew all of the care of all of the doctors, and she enrolled her in hospice care, and she told them that she needed to get off of TPN, which is through an intravenous line, because she told doctors that she could not tolerate any of the food through her feeding tube, and that she didn't want her to live on TPN, which literally happens all the time, and that because her quality of life was so poor, she just wanted to take her home to die. So she dies on August 20th of 2017, and the official cause of death is intestinal failure, but I don't believe there was actually an autopsy. So at the time of her death, she wrote on the GoFundMe that the death of a loved one of any age is tough. I know I will have bad days. I know I will struggle, and I know I will hold my sweet fat princess. And my no more owies princess Olivia is exactly what she asked for, and I prayed for, and what God answered. So she basically prayed for her daughter to die. Yikes. So then I was able to find a copy of her obituary, and on the obituary they wrote, on Sunday, August 20th, we lost our little Princess Olivia after a long battle with a rare disease at age 7. She was born on June 21st, 2010 in Pasadena, Texas, to the parents of Jeff and Kelly Gant. She was lived in Littleton, Colorado for the last 4 years. She was with us for a very short time, but through her short life and big battles, she taught us that we can be joyful in all things. After many operations and numerous stays in the hospital, Olivia always came home with a smile. She would be overjoyed to see her big sisters and ready to play with everyone immediately. She became known as the princess after always wearing her princess dresses while in the hospital. No hospital gowns for Olivia, though her many stays in Children's Hospital, Colorado, most people there loved and cherished the princess. She loved school and was able to attend pre-K and kindergarten and part of first grade at Columbine Hills Elementary before her health began to decline more rapidly. That was the highlight of her life, being at school and with her teachers and friends. At home, Olivia loved playing with her sisters, being on her iPad, and watching her DVDs. She had an unbelievable imagination and would entertain herself for others for hours. Her mouth never stopped, but she would give others such joy and laughter. When she was able, her favorite places to visit were Dairy Queen, the zoo, the Dinosaur Ridge, and she loved vanilla ice cream cones, lions, and could tell you almost anything about dinosaurs and sharks. It was only the last month that playing and talking began to cease. Our precious little princess was now with a new body, no tubes, no more pain, no sickness, and everlasting joy from the Lord. So she had a feeding tube, and she had her daughter using a wheelchair. even though doctors said that this little girl had absolutely no problem walking around, and doctors in Colorado actually suspected that there wasn't anything wrong with the girl, or they couldn't find the issues or the symptoms that this woman claimed that her daughter had. But even though this death was actually suspicious, doctors didn't actually authorities didn't actually get involved until in 2018. She brought her daughter, who's 11 at the time, to Children's Hospital in Colorado. And she brought her daughter there saying that she was suffering from bone pain. And she asserted that through her daughter's medical history that she had cancer. So the doctor that sees her at the hospital in Denver calls the clinic in Texas, and they say, no, she's literally never had cancer. She does not have cancer. So they report the mother for suspicious behavior, and they also have suspicions now related to Olivia's death in 2017. So it says that the initial report from Jefferson County said that Turner's younger daughter died in 2017 after being featured on local and national news. The report said that there was a concern that Turner may have been benefiting from the attention and that had a financial and social motivation for her children's medical conditions, both real and fictitious. They were concerned at the time, this was from the report from Human Services, that she lied about the children's medical conditions and therefore may have caused harm to the children and or caused them to have significant medical procedures. During that investigation, they actually removed the 11-year-old from her care. They determined she had absolutely nothing wrong with her and she was totally fine and did not experience any symptoms at all when she was not with her mother. Now, as they start going back into Olivia's case, they learned that she actually started receiving treatment in 2013 in Colorado. The girl's primary care doctor, so Olivia's doctor, retired, and then she started seeing a new physician, and that doctor grew suspicious after learning that she claimed that she had undergone chemotherapy and radiation treatment for 3 years in Texas. And after being diagnosed with cancer, and then they called Texas and realized that she had never had cancer. Claims again, right? So during the investigation, after they see the little girl going in for bone pain, they start talking to the doctors that actually saw Olivia, and this is what the doctors say. So Dr. Jason Soden, who is a pediatric gastroenterologist, he started treating her in October of 2017, and he told investigators that Turner told him that her daughter was rejecting nutrition through the feeding tube, and he told her that doesn't happen. And then he recommended that they decrease Olivia's dependency on the tube, and then she allegedly refused to do that and instead asked him to sign a do not resuscitate order to be put in place. This part just is so ridiculous to me. If she has a feeding tube, a do not resuscitate makes zero sense. My son has a feeding tube and we would never put a do not resuscitate on that. It doesn't go together at all. He said he later learned that Turner had placed her daughter on in-home palliative care and was giving her heavy doses of narcotics without knowledge of her pain management team. So she was basically keeping her daughter completely looped up. So then, Robert Kramer told investigators that he was stunned at the turn of events, and Dr. Kramer said that Olivia was not terminal patient and was shocked when he heard that she withdrew all medical care and Olivia passed away. So they questioned Turner. She actually brings up that she has, hold on. Let's get back to the doctors. Dr. Kristen Park told investigators that she found no evidence that Olivia had any seizures and told her that 3 separate times to stop giving her daughter any anti-seizure medications that had serious side effects. Dr. Thomas Walker told investigators that Olivia did not exhibit the symptoms Turner described most of the time. Very active, interactive, social, and fun to be around. Dr. Jamie Belkind-Gerson described Olivia to investigators as always smiling and playful, so they doubted that she actually had autism. Dr. Robert Kramer decided her as social and very talkative and did not diagnose her with autism. And he said that when he went and read the GoFundMe page, he told investigators that he was actually shocked because he learned that Turner had withdrawn the medical care and that she had died. Dr. Robert Kramer was the gastroenterologist who actually treated her from 2013 to 2017. And he said that he never diagnosed Olivia with any of the diseases that Turner claimed she had through the GoFundMe. A pediatric surgeon, John Beeler, said that Olivia had a challenging diagnosis and called Turner a high maintenance mother who wasn't afraid of surgery. Still, he had said none of Olivia's diagnoses were terminal and would cause death. An occupational therapist, Jackie Kammerer, she said that she treated her for feeding and told investigators that she completed all the therapies without any issue and didn't need even treatment for anything related to feeding. It's wild here. So anyways, this story is just, I can't even, my head, it hurts. So as they do the doctors, all the doctors are basically saying nothing happens here. And Turner, she is questioned by the doctors, and she's the one that ends up bringing up Munchausen-By-Proxy. And she tells them that in her case, that's just never been she says that has never been my case, like at all whatsoever. You can talk to anyone that stood by my side though through all of this. And she was the one that brought it up, not investigators. So anyway, what happens is they end up to determine if Olivia died from what they said she died from. They decide to exhume her body in 2018. They do a full post-mortem autopsy, and they determine that she did not die of any of the things that she said she had. She did not show signs of having intestinal failure at all. She didn't show signs of having any illnesses at all that she claimed that her daughter had. At that point, they determined that they listed it as undetermined, but it's more likely that she died from malnutrition, which can lead to liver failure. She was nowhere near liver failure either. So she probably died because her mom stopped feeding her. Her mom withdrew everything and she ends up dying. So after they end up exhuming the body and they realize that the little girl didn't have intestinal failure, didn't have any of the diseases that her mother claimed that she had, they forwarded the case to Douglas County because Turner moved there at the time. And they charged her with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 alleging that she killed Olivia while in a position of trust, and 1 alleging that she killed the girl after deliberation. 1 count of child abuse, alleging that she permitted another daughter who is now 11 years old to be unreasonably placed in a situation which posed a threat of injury. 3 counts of theft, 1 alleging she defrauded Medicaid and or Health First Colorado for $538,991.67. 1 alleging that she used deception to obtain cash and services of $22,700 from GoFundMe. The $11,264 Make-A-Wish gift, the $3,000 gift from Professional Miracles Foundation, and a funeral home donation for $425, and 7 Scene Stones Cemetery for $4,973, which she did not pay for. So she didn't pay for her headstone or the funeral at all. She was charged with 3 counts of charitable fraud, each alleging that she was devised or executed a scheme to solicit money, property, or services. 2 counts of attempting to influence a public service, and 2 counts of forgery. The 4 charges are based on applications for benefits, including Medicaid, that she filed for in 2013. The applications were rife with inaccurate information, according to the affidavit. She claimed, for instance, that her father and her sister was an absent parent and listed him as unemployed. In reality, he told detectives he had a job that included health insurance and that he could have covered the kids and provided Turner $900 a week in living expenses. He told investigators he stayed in Texas when Turner brought the kids to Colorado, and that a short time later she asked that he remove the kids from his health insurance because she could buy it through Children's Hospital Colorado at a lower rate. And bank statements corroborated his story. So she basically does this entire con for money, for attention, for the accolades, for the sympathy. She goes to the steps that so many of these mothers don't reach, but is so common, can be really common in these cases. Munchausen-by-Proxy, or factitious disorder imposed on another, is extremely rare. But in cases where they take it to extremes, they will kill the child for the attention. And in this case, she got the attention from her daughter's death, and then after that wore off, she took to her next target, her daughter, a 11-year-old, and decided that she now had cancer, and that she had bone pain, and that she needed help, and that she had all of these issues too. This is the problem with this disorder, is that these people that have it, they can't help themselves, and they get so addicted to the money and the attention that no child that's in their care is safe from them. One child will be the target. When that child's done, they move on to another, or they'll flip between multiple children. It's really disturbing. And I know in so many of these cases, it's like we want to blame the doctors. And in this case, I will say some of these doctors absolutely failed her, because I can't imagine any gastroenterologist signing a do not resuscitate on a kid. I'm telling you, my son's GI doctor would never sign one of those. It doesn't even relate to the specialty. DNR is typically for cardiac patients or for kids that have terminal illnesses. She didn't have a terminal illness according to what all the doctors said. And then my other question is, if that neurologist or the doctor that says she doesn't have seizures is telling her not to stop giving the medications for the seizures, why is she prescribing them? How is she getting the medications if she's telling her to stop? She would have to be getting those prescriptions from somewhere. Someone would have had to have been prescribing those seizure medications. And then, how are they putting her on TPN without actually doing a bowel study to actually look at how her intestines are looking? And how could they do all of this and make these decisions based on what the mother says? I'm a mother of a child that has a feeding tube, and I can sure as SHIT tell you that anytime a parent, for instance, my son has gastroparesis where his stomach is partially paralyzed, his doctors don't just go based off what I tell them. Not at all. They had us come into the hospital, and we had a 4-hour test on his intestines to watch his stomach empty to see what was actually going on. That was done by a PET scan. Why aren't these doctors ordering these types of tests? Why are they putting her on TPN based on the mother saying that she doesn't tolerate it? And then that gastroenterologist saying that a child wouldn't not tolerate food on feeding tube, that's complete bogus. Kids don't tolerate feeding tubes all the time. There's so many questions here, and there's so many doctors that saw this, and not one of them stuck up for this little girl, and that pisses me off. I'm mad at the mom, but this is one case where I am literally livid at the doctors, because how dare none of these doctors actually file a claim? And one of the doctors was actually interviewed by the local media and basically said, doctors are just so scared of filing, false CPS reports in the event that nothing's wrong with the child. Well, what if something isn't wrong with the child? What if? And you actually save that kid's life? Stop being so afraid of lawsuits. Stop being so afraid of these mothers, and stop letting them bamboozle you. It drives me nuts. I would be livid if my doctors suspected that of me, and they did, or suspected something like that of my dog, and they didn't call Child Protective Services. Please call Child Protective Services if you are concerned. Most parents would rather you do your due diligence than just let a mother steamroll them. And if they knew that she didn't have cancer, why then did they keep going with it? This is the part of this disease that drives me nuts. How well they can use these doctors. And the other part of it that just drives me nuts is why would she say that her daughter having intestinal failure would end up in death? That doesn't even make sense. People live on TPN. People can get like colostomy and ostomy bags all the time. Like, it's not ideal, but it happens. People with Crohn's disease, for instance, they end up not having any function of their intestines and they still live. And it's not terminal. It's not ideal, but it's manageable. And that's the thing is like, why would she like, the cause of death is so bizarre. It doesn't even make sense. Why wouldn't the doctors have spoken up at the time of her death and been like, she didn't have that? Why didn't anyone say anything then? Why did they wait a year? This case has me so aggravated on so many levels. I don't even care if malpractice insurance is like, I can't, you guys. This little girl was clearly failed. I mean, and can I just tell you guys another secret? Mothers that have the time to do this kind of crap with their kids, this is a humongous red flag. Because parents that have really sick children don't have all the time in the world to like set up 30,000 GoFundMes and have bucket lists for their kids and take freebies all the time. We just don't have time for it. I don't have time for free crap from anything. There's a million organizations that would probably give my family stuff, and I don't have time to apply for it, and I don't care, and I don't want it. Because most families that are going through this, they don't want the free stuff. They just want the healthy kid. But it's always these mothers. They always want all the free stuff. They want all the attention. They're always on the news. Meanwhile, there are thousands of mothers like me who are not seeking out that kind of attention, don't want it, and then like, they just make a mockery of children that are sick. They make a mockery of the fight that parents have to go through. And this woman deserves to rot, in my opinion, if this is true. If the allegations are true, if the indictment is true, this woman should rot in prison. Now, she's innocent until proven guilty. Obviously, I should say that. But I'm going to be covering this case. I'm going to be following it. I hope you follow it along with me because this one's got me all kinds of worked up. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think are you as aggravated as I am? Let me know in comments. I'll be back later. Bye, guys.